All right, let's talk about AI agents. We're handing them the keys to our entire digital kingdom, right? But what happens when one of them goes rogue? Today we're diving into the brand new security models we absolutely need to keep them in check. I want you to really imagine this for a second. You've got this amazing AI agent, right? It's streamlining all your HR tasks, making life easier. But then, an attacker slips it a single, sneaky, maliciously crafted prompt, and bam! Your agent is tricked into offboarding every single employee you have. I mean, it's an absolute catastrophe, and it perfectly illustrates the huge new security challenge we're facing.
So how do we even begin to think about this problem? Well, the best way to frame it is to stop thinking about these agents as some kind of external tool. We need to start seeing them for what they really are. The most helpful and, potentially the most dangerous insiders we will ever have.
And what I love about this quote is how perfectly it captures the paradox here. See, we design these agents to be autonomous, to operate in this continuous loop to solve problems for us. But that very autonomy, that same looping behavior, without the right guardrails, is exactly what makes them capable of doing a ridiculous amount of damage, fast. And this brings us to a really, really crucial point. We can't just slap our old security models onto this new class of autonomous agents. It just doesn't work. The old keys do not fit these new locks, and trying to force them is frankly a recipe for disaster. Let's break down why. You see, traditional security is built for people, for humans. A user has to actively log in, they do some stuff in a single session, and they operate with a pretty clear set of permissions. Agents? They're the complete opposite. They're autonomous, they're always on, operating in a continuous loop, and because we can't always predict their next move, they're what we call non-deterministic, their security needs are dynamic. They're constantly changing with the task at hand. So here's the bottom line. Giving an agent a static API key with broad, standing permissions, that's kind of like giving the new intern the master key to the entire building and just, hoping for the best. An attacker doesn't need to break down the front door, they just need to trick the intern into opening it for them. They hijack the agent's original goals and twist them into their own. So how in the world do we solve this? We need a new model. And one of the most powerful ones out there is CIBA. That stands for Client-Initiated Backchannel Authentication. The easiest way to think about it, it's basically Passkeys for agents, a dynamic, just-in-time security approach that's actually built for this new world. So yeah, CIBA, Client-Initiated Backchannel Authentication. At its very core, it's a security protocol that forces the agent to just stop. It has to ask a human for explicit, real-time permission before it can do anything sensitive or high stakes. It literally builds a human in the loop right into the agent's workflow. Now that sounds pretty great in theory, right? But how does it actually work? Let's walk through the exact flow, because when you see it in action, you really get just how elegant and powerful this safeguard is. Okay, here's how it goes down. First, your agent is humming along in the cloud, and it decides it needs to do something sensitive. Let's say, fire an employee. Instead of just doing it, it sends a back-channel request to your identity provider. Think Okta or Google Identity. This then triggers an out-of-band notification, and this part is key. It happens completely outside of the browser context, which gets pushed directly to your phone. And right there, you can approve or deny that one specific action. And this just brilliantly shows you the power of CIBA. In that nightmare scenario we talked about, where a compromised agent is told to fire everyone, you wouldn't be helpless. No way. Instead, your phone would just start blowing up with individual requests, one by one. You would immediately see that something is very, very wrong, and you could just start denying all of them, stopping the attack cold in its tracks.
So, this brings us to the core advantages, the whole shebang. The authorization is intent-bound, which is a really crucial concept. It means permission is tied to one specific intended action, not some broad standing privilege. It's also session-bound, so the permission just expires after that one task is done. This entire architecture creates that critical human safety net that basically neuters a compromised agent's ability to cause any real, widespread damage.
Ultimately, adopting something like CIBA isn't just about plugging in a new protocol. It's about embracing a fundamentally new mindset for security in the age of AI. We have got to move away from the old way of doing things, static API keys and fingers-crossed security, where we basically just hope nothing goes wrong. The CIBA way gives us dynamic, just-in-time credentials and a dashboard green approach, where we have provable, real-time control over exactly what our agents are doing. And look, if there is just one thing you take away from this explainer, please make it this. Agents are not humans. You can't just copy-paste your human identity frameworks and expect them to work.
It's not going to happen. Agents are a totally new type of entity, and they demand a new type of security architecture, one that is dynamic, just in time, and built from the ground up for their autonomous nature.
So, as you go out and build and deploy more and more of these powerful agents, you really have to ask yourself, is my security model truly built for autonomy, or am I just crossing my fingers?